We live. All right. What's up, everybody? What's up? What did I come here for? What up, everybody? What up? What's up, guys? Hey. What do y'all think? Who y'all voting for? I ain't telling y'all who I'm voting for, but who y'all voting for? Hey, come on now. Talk to me. It ain't just a course now. Why am I always in a cap? Because I ain't gotten a haircut. That's why. I'm too busy. Dang, everybody voting for Trump. I have a daughter. Money isn't everything. What's that have to do with your daughter? Huh? He wants abortions? Then he won't have a daughter. Listen, man. I think the whole abortion argument is just dumb. Like, why can't we just compromise? You don't need to be 25 years old going on your 10th abortion. And then, there's rape victims and stuff that should probably have an opportunity to get an abortion. Why we can't compromise, I don't know. Why is it this or that? I don't know. I don't think babies at 24 weeks should be getting killed. Most states allow abortions at 23 weeks, 24 weeks. It's insane. Is that really necessary? Do we need to have a law that allows 99% of the people who are just, bro? Come on, we're all adults here. We went to high school. We know these girls is wilding, getting pregnant at 16, 17, 15, doing shit they ain't supposed to be doing. By the time they're 25, they on their 10th abortion. Why are we paying tax dollars for that? I don't want to pay tax dollars for that. But I do empathize with victims, of course. But that's like 1, 2, 3% of the cases out there. Let's protect them. Why can't we do that? Why can't we do both? Shit, I don't really get that argument. And to make that the number one policy that you're voting for, when we got literally hundreds of thousands of people dying every day because of stupid wars, because of stupid things, and that's what we worried about. Man, I don't get it. That's just not the hill I'm dying on. And the other thing is, why can't it be left to the state? That's what makes America so great. Diversity and inclusion. Everyone gets to vote in their state for what policies are going to be passed. So if you want abortions, move your ass to California, but don't force me in Florida to have to do it if I don't want that to be a law. That's what makes America great. The whole country don't have to agree with the same thing. There's diversity, there's inclusion, and if you have certain beliefs and certain customs, and there's going to be a state that adheres to that, and there's going to be states that don't. But you don't have to live in those states. That's what's amazing about this country. So I wasn't trying to get into politics on this live stream, but that's just my opinion on the abortion thing. Do I think Trump be tripping? Hell yeah. But do I think Kamala be tripping? Hell yeah. I don't like the fact that she won't talk to nobody. You know what I mean? And then I don't like the fact that Trump just be talking too much sometimes. So I get it. I get both sides. But I ain't dying on the abortion hill. Nah, I'm good. Pony the barber. I don't like any discounts. I don't do no discounts. We've never in 14 years I've been a barber. I've never done discounts. I mean, we tested it, and it's just not something that's ever worked out in our favor. Sir, yes, sir. All right, let's go to taxes. That's what I wanted to check out. I wanted to watch this with you guys. I'll tell you what, that Elon Musk and Joe Rogan interview was eye opening. And then I'm surprised Joe Rogan has always pretty much hated Trump. He's always been a Democrat, and then he just endorsed him. Crazy. I think he endorsed him because Kamala wouldn't talk to him unless it was like 45 minutes long only at her place. Like this is the biggest platform. This is a great opportunity. This guy's a Democrat, and he said he wouldn't even want to ask her any political questions. He just wanted to know who she was. Um, Crazy. Andrew said, been considering how do you get it? You gotta apply, reach out to the managers, come and shadow, become a familiar face. Which candidate is helping barbers? I don't know. I don't know. The tariffs thing is scary that Trump is trying to do. That is scary. That will raise cost. But I also don't think it's just going to be like flip of a switch and crash the economy. I think they're going to be smart about it. Um, and then with Kamala, I don't like that she wouldn't answer the question about they're always saying that they're going after the rich billionaires. We're going to raise taxes on billionaires. And then she was asked specifically, what about the small business owners who do well? They make 300, 400, 500,000 in a year. What about them? And she wouldn't answer the question. So she's going to tax the hell out of that's middle class. Believe it or not, guys, most small business owners that are making four or $500,000, they don't actually make that. Most LLC owners own what's called a pass-through entity. And so, for example, I could get taxed on millions of dollars, pay hundreds of thousands of dollars of taxes, and I've only lived on, let's say, 200,000 for the year. But I had to pay a bunch of taxes on that because whether it stays in my business account or not, I get taxed at the individual level. And so that really sucks. And so for the middle class, we're getting our asses handed to us, and she wouldn't answer that question. It's not just taxing the billionaires and the rich like they like to promote. They taxing the hell out of everybody. I don't know if you noticed in the past 4 years, taxes has been crazy. So I don't like that she don't answer that, but I also don't like the tariffs strategy. That's kind of scary, man. I believe countries leverage each other. We don't need to be a powerhouse of manufacturing. We just don't need to do that. We're powerhouses in so many other things. Most people don't even want factory jobs, So I don't know, man. I'm not saying we need to be dependent on it, but we also don't need to completely shut it off, is what I'm saying. What's good, bro? I had a question sent on school if you could help me out with that. Uh, Shit. I have not been in the messages. I don't know if it was in the messages. I get a bunch of messages every day, and I try to catch up a couple times a week. But I don't check messages every second. If you could, like, if you make a post and you tag me, or you go on Discord and you tag me, just try to get a hold of me that way if you can, bro. Please. Do I still go to the gym? Yeah, I've been last couple months I've been slacking just because I've been focused on work. But yeah, I still go to the gym. Trump is gonna help lower taxes and war between. I don't know about that, man. I don't know about that. I don't know. The tariffs are scary, bro. Tariffs. You might lower taxes, but cost of everything goes up. We're in the same. We're in the same place. I'm not dependent on either one, either way. You know what I'm saying? I don't like the way the country's been going in the last 4 years. I don't see no progress in the last 4 years. I don't know about you guys, but I don't see no damn progress. I feel like we've been gaslight. They gaslighting us. I feel like um, they try to say the economy's doing good because the S&P 500 and shit. But come on, man, look around. Look at the price of everything. Cost of living is up. Wisconsin, shit, I don't know. I don't know. Prosperous barber. That's not how it works, bro. It's just not. It's if it was that simple, bro. It's just not that simple. It's just not that simple. Please just stop. From an industry perspective, the current administration does not and will not benefit school owners. Yeah, this I'm with. This I'm with. It's so funny seeing Kamala go to her church. Like, girl, you full of it. You full of it. I'm not saying that either. I'm not saying that either. I don't like the way how divisive the country was when Trump was under presidency. The economy was great, but I hated the division. I hated all the damn drama, the rioting, the oh my goodness, everybody was on edge. I hated that too. Economy and everything. I'm gonna make money regardless. Sig, what's up, bro? All right, I'm supposed to be in the lab working. All right, let's watch some of these videos. So, what was it that I was looking at? History of taxes. Let's see if y'all willing to watch this with me. Let's see.
The U.S. tax code is 4 million.
What in the world? All right, let's. This is boring to most people, but I don't care. I like this stuff. Pero a mí no me importa porque a mí me gusta. Appreciate it. Appreciate it. You know who I would have voted for? Um, Ramasam, whatever the hell his name is. I liked him. And I actually don't mind. Tampa's mayor is a Democrat, but I think she's done a great job, man. What do you think, babe? I feel like our mayor has been really good. She's a little. She likes she's a little weird at some things, but I feel like all in all, she's done a great job with Tampa. You know, and I voted Democrat my whole life, but lately I've been feeling like I didn't like the Biden administration. That's for sure. Um, I voted for Obama twice. You know, um, I did like Trump's economic policies, but I don't like the tariff one. The tariff one's scary as shit. That affects me. That affects all of you guys, especially my barbers that love them Chinese clippers. Y'all love them Chinese clippers. Boy, that's gonna affect the hell out of them. And it's wants Trump. They got it. Anders and Wall gotta want Trump. Them terrorists are ah. All right. No. You should have told him, man, anything but that. I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding. I want to watch this video. I don't know if you guys can even see it, but my YouTubers. I know the screen is really small, but we're gonna watch. We're gonna watch what we can here. All right, let's watch this.
Words long. Shakespeare's entire canon is just 900,000. The
Hold
US
on.
tax code is 4 million words long. Shakespeare's entire canon is just 900,000. Thankfully, most Americans just use the 1040 form, which is one of the simplest tax forms at just over 100 pages long if you include the instructions. Taxes are so confusing that when Money Magazine asked 50 professionals to come up with the same tax return for the same single family, they came up with 50 different answers. Seriously, is there anything worse than taxes? Well, yes, more taxes. Maybe we could be like ye old English folk who were taxed on windows, or like the Russians who were taxed on beards. Maybe we could be like the ancient Egyptians and get paid in beer, and taxed in beer. It depends on where you stand. Are you convinced that taxes are theft on successful people? You'd argue burdensome and convoluted tax laws fund wars and line the pockets of corrupt politicians. But maybe you're a realist, because countries can't be funded on bake sales. How else will we fund train lines, paved roads, and hospitals? However you fall on the question, the real debate is the motivation behind taxation.
Here's the thing, though. In Tampa, a private company built a highway. That shit came out fire.
Are taxes a consequence of political expediency, social needs, or as arbitrary as the order of the alphabet? Chapter 1. Taxing Times and Tribal Tributes. The earliest known record of tax is 6000 BC. Clay tablets were found in modern-day Iraq. They record how the king of the city-state Lagash taxed different parts of the city each month to make it easier to count his beans. Literally, most tax was composed of food. Elsewhere in the likes of Babylon and Egypt, taxes were derived from property value. Not because a hovel was seen as the height of living, but because the land's production value was key for growing crops and raising livestock. You wouldn't pay in coin necessarily. Instead, you forfeited a portion of your annual harvest. But if you weren't a farmer, then you'd have to contribute your labor. This could be for menial infrastructure work or grand public projects, like the world's first pyramid scheme. You'd be paid in beer. However, the worst part were the taxes you'd pay once you were dead. Ancient Egyptians fully expected to pay taxes when they passed on to the afterlife, so found ways to game the system in what was arguably history's first tax avoidance scheme. Firstly, privileged Egyptians could send a substitute to perform their tax labor for them, so they extended this by including small figurines in their graves known as ushabti. These ushabti figurines were inscribed with spells to protect their masters from an eternity of tax. Think of it like ancient history's offshore bank accounts. As empires expanded, so did their cash flow. Conquered regions had to pay tax tributes to their new rulers. For some, using protection rackets to develop taxation policy is proof that average citizens were getting screwed from the start. But defenders will point out how military expansion helped transform.
Bro, this is so facts. I looked up Obama's tax return when he was president. He made $500,000 allegedly, and only paid 20% in taxes. Bro, I be strategizing my ass off. I be trying to do everything legally that I can to pay less in taxes. And I paid 30-something%, like 32%. Not 37, but I paid a lot.
Public life. Funding aqueducts spearheaded sewer systems and hygiene. Public baths instilled wellness and leisure as a cultural norm. And the spread of the empire laid the groundwork for soldier pensions and retirement. Normalizing taxation also normalized tax rebates. That's good news for a slave owner, but still bad news for a slave. Conducting consensuses was tricky business, though.
This is too much. This is too historical for me. It's just way too historical for me. Here, this is a good one.
Walk us through the history of taxes. I don't know how far back you can go, but specifically in the States, walk us through how taxes became, why it became, started, and where we are.
So I love this guy's book, Tom Wheelwright. If you've never read the book, Tax-Free Wealth, let me show y'all. Tax-Free Wealth. Spelled that. This is it right here. This book right here is fire. Fire, 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 fire. Y'all go check that book out. Tax-Free Wealth by Tom Wheelwright.
Today, how much more complex it is today versus what it was in 1913 when it first got started.
So remember in 1913, it was only a tax on surplus income. It wasn't a tax on all income. It was really a tax on what they called excess earnings. And it really only applied to the very wealthiest people. Around 1944, they changed the law to apply to employees, but even then they exempted a living wage. So basically the standard deduction, the personal exemptions, they were intended to exempt a living wage so that only the excess earnings, again, were taxed. And then in the 1960s, we started to see some tax increase.
You want to see the new standard deduction? 2024 standard. Actually, let's go 2025. That should be out already. And by the way, guys, if you're trying to get taxes done, you don't sign up with your accounting firm in January during the middle of tax season. That's like trying to book an appointment during back to school. If it gets you mad as a barber when people do that, imagine what it does for an accountant. All right, so $15,000 is the new standard deduction. Think about that, guys. It's supposed to be, our taxes are supposed to be taxed on surplus. Okay, so after you've made enough money to make a living, then you start getting taxed. Look at the number right now. Is there not something wrong with that picture?
And we started to see incentives. You know, we had the 1954 Act, which was a major tax act. It was supposed to simplify it, didn't it? Complexified things. Then we had the 1986 Act, which was supposed to simplify again, which is what it really did was broaden the base. So it made more things taxable, added more complexity. What we have now is we actually have a lower tax rate than we've had in many, many years. In the U.S., at one point, it was upwards of 90% on the highest rates. And
the only thing is, Tom, nobody paid 90%. There were so many write-offs and loopholes. Nobody paid that.
And there's all sorts of shenanigans going on.
Yeah, he's saying that. That's what he's saying right there. There was all sorts of shenanigans going on because nobody was paying that shit.
In many, many years. In the U.S., at one point, it was upwards of 90% on the highest rates. And there's all sorts of shenanigans going on to get out of those, right? Those kind of 90% taxes. So right now, you know, we're in that 40% range, which is actually kind of a sweet spot for governments. They find that if people are paying
sign up
more
before,
than 40%, they have a huge incentive to get out of taxes. And if they pay,
guys, you sign up before because you have to give your accountants, if you're going to do it the right way and save as much money in taxes as possible, you have to give your accountants enough time to clean up your books, to meet with you, figure out what your goals are. If you sign up in January, they're just going to write off everything and then you can't buy a house, right? If you're trying to buy a house in the next couple of years, you want to make sure you're communicating with your accountant. So if they're in a rush because you signed up in January, there's no time. Okay? And so it's like showing up 15 minutes late for your appointment and expecting the blurriest cut possible. That's not happening.
pay much less than 40%. The difference between a lot less than 40% and 40% doesn't impact behavior a whole lot. So what the government really started doing back in the early 60s with the investment tax.
Now is when you want to sign up. In the beginning of the fourth quarter, that's where you want to start signing up for accounting.
Credit was to kind of test the waters and see what would happen if we gave a tax incentive. They finally realized people hate paying taxes, right? So if we give a little tax incentive, what will that change behavior? And what they found was, yeah, and in fact, it changes behavior. The right incentive will change behavior in a massive way. So really what taxes have become is a way for the government to leverage government funds. Instead of the government building houses, for example, they encourage private industry to build houses. And as a result, private industry does 10 times the work for the same number of dollars because they're getting rewarded through profits. And then when they make the profits, they're also paying the government. So the government multiple times with these incentives. And see what would
Did you guys catch that? Listen to this again. Listen to this again.
happen if we gave a tax incentive. They finally realized people hate paying taxes, right? So if we give a little tax incentive, what will that change behavior? And what they found was, yeah, and in fact, it changes behavior. The right incentive will change behavior in a massive way. So really what taxes have become is a way for the government to leverage government funds. Instead of the government building houses, for example, they encourage private industry to build houses. And as a result, private industry does 10 times the work for the same number of dollars because they're getting rewarded through profits. And then when they make the profits, they're also paying the government. So the government wins multiple times with these incentives.
So if you like this,
Did you catch that? So the tax code is written to incentivize entrepreneurs, small business owners to do the work that the government wants us to do for society, right? Now, this opens up the door for some fraud here and there because what'll happen sometimes, all of a sudden a politician owns the construction company that's getting these government jobs all of a sudden. And all of a sudden those invoices for a real small building come out 5 times the cost it would be if somebody private built the same building. Interesting how that works sometimes. And a lot of politicians have been caught with plays like this. But if it's done right without any corruption, then what happens is, kickbacks like a mug. What happens is, if it's done right with no corruption, what happens is, they're going to get way more productivity because private businesses across the board are always more efficient, more productive than government initiatives. And so the government's happy to do it to give them incentives, tax incentives to do the work because a productive business is going to pay more in taxes anyways. So it's a win-win-win for everybody. But then, you get some greedy politicians in there that mess it all up sometimes. And so, like, for example, the governor of New York, the mayor of New York City, I should say, the mayor of New York City. I don't know if you guys caught that one. That's some corruption, right? And that guy didn't like a lot of, would talk a lot of mess about people. All right. Let me see, where were we at? Hey, first time caller. All right, the next one that I wanted to watch. All right, this is a good one right here. Is this it? Yeah, this is a good one. So this is why you don't go to H&R Block and you find an accounting firm. Okay? And you work with accountants. Let me show y'all. Now, this is game right here. Let's watch this.
Most of us have known or at least heard how some of the richest people in the world pay less or no taxes at all.
that Amazon is paying zero in federal income taxes.
Founder of Tesla paid nothing in 2018.
I know people that are making a tremendous amount of money and paying virtually no tax.
I pay no taxes. That's why Trump paid.
Now, I want you guys to think about this. Listen to how the media is trying to portray these businesses. They didn't pay anything in taxes.
Or no taxes at all.
That Amazon.
I want you guys to think about this. This is context, and this goes over a lot of people's heads, especially young people. Me and my wife were talking the other day, and she was like, would you want to go back to like old times? What was it like? You were talking about like the 1800s, like late 1800s, early 1900s, right? Horse and carriage times. And be wealthy during those times. I was like, hell no. The quality of life back then was a struggle, even if you was rich. You know what I mean? Like, poor people in 2024, in America at least, still have PlayStations, still have Wi-Fi, still have cell phones, have cars. Poor people. That's poor in America. They still have cars. I know, because I was very poor as well. And I could get a phone. I'd have food. There wasn't scarcity. There wasn't grocery stores that were empty, shelves that were empty. rations of rice. And so people don't realize that because of entrepreneurs, because of technology, regardless if your income hasn't grown, quality of life has improved, right? And so the government gave kickbacks to companies like Amazon. Are you guys mad that Amazon succeeded? Because I'm not. I'm very happy I can get same day shipping. I love Amazon Prime. And I would give them a kickback every single, if I could do it all over again, give them all kinds of kickback. But here's the thing. Those kickbacks, don't you think they're paying off now for the government? Imagine the amount of taxes that Amazon is creating for the government between property taxes, sales taxes, employee taxes, even corporate taxes. Think about all the taxes now. So again, the government incentivizes entrepreneurs to do the thing that they can't do because they know in the long term they're going to get a kick. They're going to get blessed anyways with crazy amounts of taxes that they're going to collect once that company's successful. Tesla is successful now. It wasn't profitable for a very long time, and they got incentives to continue to build because the government wanted more EVs. On top of that, Tesla had the number one selling car in California. I'm sure the state of California loved the taxes they collected from all those vehicles that they sold. And I'm sure the federal government is very happy about all the taxes, the 300 billion that I think Elon paid, or not 300 billion. Yeah, I think it was like 300 billion that Tesla paid in the last couple of years. Like, so we like, I don't know about you guys, but you don't do shit for quality of life of the entire world, like Amazon and Tesla does, or Facebook, right? So no, you should not get the same incentives that they get. And most of y'all don't even pay taxes. Most of y'all get returns. So why the hell are we listening to this bullshit where they're talking about, oh, they don't even pay taxes, they don't even pay taxes, tax the rich, tax the rich. Like it's so easy to gaslight the American people because they've made tax law so hard and so difficult to understand, and they don't teach it in school for a reason. They don't teach it to the average, like the average American person learns very little during their time in school. They learn a lot more about creative arts than they do about taxes. And that's literally the biggest expense of your lifetime. Sorry to keep ranting. Let's continue.
Is paying zero in federal income taxes.
Founder of Tesla paid nothing in 2018.
I know people that are making a tremendous amount of money and paying virtually no tax.
I pay no taxes. That's why Trump pays no taxes.
And it was all legal. But should it be?
What is interesting is that the government
I think it
used
should
to
be.
tax rich people. So let's go over how rich people are able to pay less taxes by learning the main ideas from the book Tax-Free Wealth by Tom Wheelwright. Lesson number 1. How the poor started paying taxes. After World War II, the government realized that taxes were a great tool to raise funds to rebuild a society. So instead of just taxing the rich, the government started taxing the middle class. Although people were only taxed on the extra income they had after the average living expenses. Soon after, the government realized people's behaviors changed based on their taxes. So they began to tinker with the tax laws to direct how people spent their money. They realized that if the government gave a tax break to those who invested in businesses, more people would invest in businesses. If the government gave tax breaks to those investing in housing, more people would invest in housing. So the government began crafting a tax system that would encourage people to.
So that's a good question. Do I believe in trickle-down economics? I do and I don't. If you think trickle-down economics is the rich make a bunch of money and then some of that money flows to the people, that happens. Don't get me wrong. There's definitely CEOs that do that, but there's a lot of them that don't do that and they pay big bonuses to their CEOs. And I get that. I'm not naive to that. The trickle-down economics that is prevalent and you cannot deny is quality of life. Cars are more accessible. Smartphones are more accessible. Wi-Fi is more accessible. That's the trickle-down economics that I know of, and the government can't create that technology. It's entrepreneurs that do, and that's the trickle-down economics that I look at. Is the quality of life getting better? Money is not everything. And money does not solve most people problems. You can give poor people $10,000 tonight, and within a few months, that shit is gone with nothing to show for it. It's not necessary. Like, it's not because, you know, for whatever reason, it's just, it doesn't fix things. We've seen that over and over and over again. So if you're just measuring things based on monetary value, no, it's hit or miss. I think it's 50-50 that trickle down economics works. But when we look at quality of life, the fact that even poor people in America have computers, go anywhere else in the world. Most countries don't have that luxury. And I think that we lose sight of that because we're so focused on money. And that's why you see a lot of campaigns, political campaigns, that are leading with how much money we're going to give you. And that is literally a temporary fix to a huge issue. Okay?
We invest in things that would stimulate the economy and create infrastructure. Eventually, the tax laws went from a simple emergency revenue-raising vehicle to a large set of laws that dictate the economic behavior of an entire society. So instead of fighting the government, rich people decided to save in taxes by literally following the rules. Lesson.
Do you guys hear that? That's the part that people miss. I can tell you for a fact. Listen, I've been poor my whole, like, beyond poor. Poor. Crack house poor, okay? Ain't nobody ever breaking open a tax law book. Nobody's looking at what's this year's tax credits. What's the tax strategy this year? Let me go. I have a meeting with my accountant. Nobody. All right. All the rich people are doing is when there are new tax laws passed, they have meetings with their accountants and they learn the law. This is why in Pi Accounting, we have Money Matters Mondays. Let me show you guys. Okay. This is Tabitha right here. What is she teaching right here? Self-employed health insurance deduction. Have y'all even ever studied that? Well, on Mondays with our accounting firm, you can sit down and you can learn this shit. Something that, I don't know about you guys, but nobody at my dinner table ever taught me any of this, right? There's presentations.
Employer subsidized plan. So what that means is if you are.
So all the rich do is they look at the laws and they follow the rules. And then when they get the fruits of that labor, of that investment, people want to be mad. Like, guys, this information is accessible to all of us. And we should normalize that shit. But we don't. And so whose fault is that? Whose fault is that? All right, sorry. Let's continue.
Number 2, the 4 types of income. By understanding that the government gives tax breaks to those who help stimulate the economy or help build infrastructure, many people realized that the way they earned and used their money had a big impact on how they were taxed. In the book, Tom uses Robert Kiyosaki's cash flow quadrant to show how each type of income is taxed.
The rich are the ones who write the rules. No, how? Who wrote the rules the last 4 years? It doesn't matter if it's 90. So you must be new to this, Christian. There was a time in America where taxes were 90% for the rich. What do you think the rich did? What do you think the rich did? They read the damn tax laws and they figured out how to get around it. It's that simple. There's no way around it. All right. So instead, we should be incentivizing even more to get more of it done. Okay. And I get it. Look, he said cap. Cool. Listen, I've been poor and I've been rich. Call it cap. I'll live in my reality. You live in yours, baby.
First, we have the employee income. Anyone who has a job has this type of income. This is considered earned income, and it has the highest form of taxes. The taxes here are organized in brackets depending on how much a person earns. It can go from 10% for low-income earners up to 37% for those making over...
Hold on. Christian, where do you think the government gets most of their money from? What do you think the U.S. government gets most of their money from? My bad, my bad. What do you think they get most of their money from? You think it's donors? You think it's taxpayers? Or do you think it's the Federal Reserve printing a bunch of money, buying a whole bunch of U.S. Treasury bonds, and literally self-funding themselves? Why do you think all these countries want to get off the U.S. dollar? Because they feel like the U.S. is cheating. And they are. The government here is finessing the shit out of us, and it's causing a bunch of inflation. And the people who are paying the most is the poor and the middle class. But we want to focus on the rich and the donors. They ain't doing nowhere near as much damage as all of the damn money that they're printing through the Federal Reserve, writing their own checks, their own loans to themselves with these U.S. Treasury bonds that the Federal Reserve is buying with the money that they're printing. Come on, man. Come on. It's all these politicians want you to pay attention to the rich, to the donors, but they don't want you paying attention to how they're lining their pockets.
Over $539,000. The US has what is called marginal tax, meaning all of your income is not subject to the tax bracket percentage, but instead you only pay the tax for the money that falls within the tax bracket. You can see it illustrated.
So look, guys, this is what people think they're taxed at, okay? It's a marginal tax rate. So just because you make $200,000 to $539,000 doesn't mean you get taxed for that whole amount at 35%. You're going to pay 10% for the first 10,000, 12% in between 10 and 41, 22 in between 41 and 89. And so you have a marginal tax rate, and then you have an effective tax rate. All right, you guys get what I'm saying? And so, Christian, it does if we just paid attention to the laws. It does if we just paid attention to the laws. My father, look, I have family that have sold their houses, got hit with capital gains tax because they didn't know about it. I'm sorry, but every American can build equity in their home. And when they go to sell that home, if they know the tax laws, they can avoid being taxed 30, 20% on the equity of their home when they sell it. What about IRAs? What about Roth IRAs? What about 401ks? Does that not help the poor? Absolutely it does. But most people don't learn it. They don't understand it. They don't apply it. And when I was poor and I learned tax laws, hell yeah, it helped me. It helped me save a lot of money. And that money I was able to snowball into my next business and my next business. I started out with tax returns because I had 2 kids. And I tried to get the best return I could possibly get because I learned tax law. So I would get $8,000 or $9,000 for my 2 kids for our returns, and I would take that money and I wouldn't go shopping with it like my parents used to. I loved it. My parents would give me new sneakers, or we'd go on a vacation, we go to Disney, all that good stuff with the tax money. No, we reinvested it. And then as I started making more money, I'm not making millions of dollars at this point, but I'm making a couple $100,000. Again, still watching the tax laws and learning it. Absolutely it helps. Absolutely it helps the poor by learning tax laws. All right, so anyways, effective tax rate versus marginal tax rate. Now, this is what people think they're only getting taxed on. But if you live in California or any state that has state tax, add that tax to this. And if you're paying sales tax and property taxes, add that tax to this too. And if you're self-employed, add another 15% for self-employment tax. A lot of you guys don't realize you're paying 50% of your income in taxes. Don't even realize it.
Illustrated.
And that's keeping you poor because you don't know tax law. It's keeping you poor. And so the only way around it that you guys know, because you don't know tax law, is to write everything off. And then you can't go buy a house. So absolutely tax law affects poor people. It affects poor, rich, middle class, everybody.
Here. Now these tax brackets are for federal taxes only. You still have to pay things like Medicare taxes, Social Security taxes, and state taxes.
So FICA, they're talking about employment taxes. FICA, that's on top of your federal taxes.
This means that the more money you make in this category, the more expensive taxes become. This is one of the reasons why building wealth in this quadrant is very difficult. There are a few ways that employees can temporarily reduce their tax bill. Many employees can direct money to tax advantage accounts, like a 401k or a traditional IRA. this method doesn't really eliminate the
And I want to make sure you guys know that I don't mind. I do think taxes are necessary. They're important for our country. But check this out. I have an aunt with an autistic son who needs help in New York City, and you see a whole lot, and she can't get no help. They won't give her any help. She's a single mother. She needs help, but they're not giving her no help. But then you got a whole bunch of people who cross the border illegally, and I don't have any problems with immigrants. My father was an immigrant, okay? But what I'm saying is, like, these people are getting $1,000 checks, cell phones, house and boarding, all of this shit, right? And my aunt, who's a single mother, who's barely getting by, can't get no help. And she pays taxes. And I pay taxes. You know what I'm saying? Like, what? Hold on. I have family who are disabled, can't even get caretakers, can't even get help. So I don't have a problem with paying taxes. On the contrary, I pay more taxes than most people do. But the way the money's being spent is not okay in my eyes. Okay? So Christian said, I just can't justify a multi-billionaire paying no money in taxes. You don't understand that argument? That makes, Christian, why don't you understand that point? If you're Amazon before Amazon Prime existed, and you employ 300,000 people, first off, Amazon always paid taxes. They had to pay employee taxes, property taxes, sales taxes, all kinds of taxes. The government was making so much money from taxes. Amazon was a blessing to them. But the government also understood what Amazon's goals were. And research and development costs money. Amazon lost money every single year because they were reinvesting the money back to develop something that improved our quality of life. And now they pay a bunch of taxes. But they didn't for 20 years because they were building a company, they were building a better tomorrow, something that the government can't do. How else do you do it? If you have an alternative, give it. A dictatorship? That doesn't work, right? A communist country? I don't think that works.
the tax, but instead it postpones the tax.
And like, to me, giving Bezos a tax write-off to do what he's done for our country, for the world, really, is a lot better of a move to me than funding crazy ass wars we got no business being in.
Tax to a later date. Once a person retires and they start using this money, they will have to pay the taxes. The benefit is that if a person is in a high tax bracket, they are able to take this money that would be heavily taxed and postpone the tax to a later date where they live in a lower tax bracket, essentially lowering the tax liability for that money. The self-employed quadrant consists of those who are just...
And by the way, the only way they get write-offs is if they put it somewhere that the government wants them to, right? So to give you an idea, there used to be a bonus depreciation write-off where if you bought an investment property, you can bonus depreciate a big portion of it year one. And unless you keep providing more housing, you're going to eventually have to pay taxes on that. But the government's okay with that because they'd rather you provide more housing, right? And so should that billionaire be taxed if he's doing what the government wants him to? Because if he doesn't do it, we're going to have to pay more taxes anyways, because then the government's going to do it. And they're not going to do as good a job. Believe me, we've seen government housing. It's not good.
getting started in business, the solopreneurs. Here, they still pay...
Christian, you don't have to keep apologizing, bro. We're just having a discussion, man. You don't have to... I'm not seeing it any other way. It's all good. I don't understand your logic, but I don't understand how you don't see it, but that's why everybody's their own man, right?
Earned income tax, which...
I just see facts and information, and I just don't see an argument. Like, I'm giving you tax codes, I'm giving you examples, I'm giving you analogies, I'm giving you facts, and you're just saying stuff like, I just don't see it. I just don't understand 30K to me means a lot more than 10 million to Bezos. But your 30K goes to groceries, goes to consuming. Bezos 10 million goes to building businesses and providing jobs and providing technology, research and development, and creating a better quality of life for hundreds of millions of people. Your 30K is not as valuable to the government as Bezos 30K. I don't understand how you don't see that,
Which again is the highest form of tax. But a small benefit that this category has is that the self-employed can deduct a few expenses related to the business before paying taxes. The drawback of this quadrant is that the self-employed has to pay more for Medicare and Social Security taxes. Normally, this tax is split between employer and employee. But since the
read this, guys. This affects barbers. Listen to this. This affects barbers like crazy. This is why I say the rich, no matter what any politician tells you, they not taxing the rich. Like, we're the ones that get screwed. Listen to this. So on top of this right here, your federal income tax, okay, your state income tax, there's another tax that we get hit by if we're self-employed. And this is why pie accounting was born. Hear it out.
Liability for that money. The self-employed quadrant consists of those who are just getting started in business, the solopreneurs. Here, they still pay earned income tax, which again is the highest form of tax. But a small benefit that this category has is that the self-employed can deduct a few expenses related to the business before paying taxes. The drawback of this quadrant is that the self-employed has to pay more for Medicare and Social Security taxes. Normally, this tax is split between employer and employee. But since the self-employed acts as both the employer and the employee, they get to pay both sides of this tax liability. In the business quadrant, business owners are able to create separate entities for their ventures. This allows them to operate with a different set of rules than the previous two. In this category, corporations have a flat tax rate of 21%, regardless of how much money they make. Here, businesses are allowed to make money, spend as much as they can as long as it's justifiable for business, and then pay tax with the remainder of the money. This allows business owners to grow their wealth and expand their net worth by reinvesting in the growth of their business before taxes become an issue. In this category, business owners still have to pay taxes if they want to make a profit. Things get a lot better once they move into the next category. The investor quadrant is where wealth can be expanded and taxes can reach zero, if they are planned correctly. Becoming an investor means that a person becomes an owner of an asset by either buying the asset, working to build it, or using someone else's money to own an asset or part of an asset. The reason why an investor can lower their taxes to virtually zero while continuing to grow their wealth is because an asset can continue to grow in value, but it cannot be taxed unless it's sold. So wealth can continue to grow without triggering any taxes. And if the investor needs money, they can borrow money against their assets to get access to liquidity without triggering any tax.
But that helps the economy. That helps society. That makes more money into our economy without printing it frivolously. It uses equity to print money versus just doing it out of thin air like the government does, right? And so, not just that, but guys, we don't need to be taxed. I don't care if you're rich or you're poor. No one needs to be taxed 50% of their income to be able to do what the government needs to do to make this country great. It just doesn't need to happen, especially when the majority of their money is when they're over here printing from the Federal Reserve. Why are we getting taxed so much? Think about that, guys. So, they want us to battle it out with rich, poor, middle, with different classes. But when we look at it from a bird's eye view, why are any of us getting taxed like this? While the government's printing a whole bunch of money through the Federal Reserve, causing crazy inflation, and then sending our money out to all these different countries for what reason? Zero communication. Why is anyone being taxed this heavily? But we're buying into this class idea that is wrong to begin with.
What about cash flow, you might ask? For many assets, cash flow can be considered passive income. In many cases, this is taxed at 20% or less with some exceptions. But this tax can also be lowered or even eliminated by using things like depreciation, which we'll talk about in a second. Since the B and I quadrant host entities that are separate from their owners, wealthy people find creative ways to avoid taxes. Like, lesson number 3, the tax strategies.
Hold on. There you go. It's faded that. There you go. That's what it was supposed to be. That's what it was supposed to be. Then you got mayors in New York City getting rich.
Of the rich, as we explained before.
There's no rich person in the world that's stopping me from getting rich. That's stopping you from getting rich. None. Zero. But y'all buying into this idea is hilarious to me.
4. Companies are able to spend money on their business before taxes are even calculated. And Tom says that with a little bit of plan.
If anything, what's making it harder for you to get rich is 50% of your income going to the IRS. That's slowing you down from getting rich. But what Bezos is paying in taxes don't affect me.
Planning anything.
Nobody should be paying these crazy rates.
Can be a deduction. For example, let's say that a business owner likes to take a trip to Vegas every year. He could spend his own money after taxes, or he could schedule business meetings, seminars, or networking events to attend to for more than 51% of his time there. This qualifies his trip as a business trip, since he's spending money that directly impacts the growth of his business.
Hey, somebody asked me if I believe in trickle-down effect. Think about the platforms that are available to people. You know how many people have gotten rich off Amazon? Let me show you guys some statistics. Amazon seller success rate. Let me show you guys something. Look at this. 46% of Amazon sellers achieve an Amazon FBA success. Oh no, hold on. 64% of Amazon sellers become profitable within 12 months. Okay. The average Amazon seller makes at least $1,000 a month. 40% of Amazon sellers make $1,000 to $25,000 a month, which can mean $12 to $300,000 in annual percent. Almost half of Amazon sellers make a hell of a lot of money, and they don't have to do shit. You ship it out to FBA. Amazon does the work for you. Government ain't done no shit like that for me. But nah, yo, Bezos should be paying. Shut up, man. Come on.
Businesses are also able to enjoy a variety of tax credits that the government has in place to encourage certain business activities. The company Tesla, for example, has received many tax credits for research and development. The company focuses on developing electric-powered vehicles and creating the infrastructure to power them. This is considered an innovation to advance clean energy and transportation, which the government likes. But one of the most shocking is Donald Trump. Trump was able to completely eliminate taxes for one of his golf courses because he buried his wife there, in New Jersey, where his golf...
This is a stupid tax law. It's a dumb tax law, but the lawmakers made it, and that's okay. You know, they got to go back to the drawing board on that one.
course is located, cemetery land is exempt from property taxes, income taxes, and sales taxes. So by burying his ex-wife there, he was able to classify his golf course as cemetery land and completely eliminated 3 types of tax.
But at the same time, the government's still getting their tax money. The amount of jobs that golf course provides, I mean, the sales taxes that it creates, the employee taxes that it creates.
But business owners,
I don't know if he saved on property taxes, but the federal taxes that created,
can also get creative with the fact that a business is a separate entity. If the business owner taxes his business as an S corporation, also called a pass-through entity, he can skip the corporate tax and pay all profits on his personal income tax. The only problem is that he would have to pay income tax on a high income. And remember, this is the highest form of tax. So his income...
So this is a play that we have barbers do at Pike County. The S Corp play is one of the best plays for barbers. Now, they're going to show you a play that goes beyond that. You know, let's say you're a barber that's making $150,000 a year. And and you start snowballing. You're living the American dream. You're living below your means. You did everything right. You providing jobs. You started investing in real estate, all these things, and now you're making $500,000 a year. This is the next step.
Will be heavily taxed. So he decides to give his parents a share of his company, which makes them co-owners of his business. Since this business is a pass-through entity, no tax is taken at the corporate level, and all the profits pass through to their owners. This reduces the main owner's income to a more comfortable tax bracket. And since his parents also have a lower tax bracket, all the extra money that would have been heavily taxed is now taxed at a lower tax rate. Eventually, the parents can create a trust and invest this money, and eventually use the step-up basis to inherit this trust back to their son, allowing...
Which I think is totally fine. I don't like the idea that, politicians want to create a death tax. Like, I want to be able to build a legacy. I want to build generational wealth. I do want to have that opportunity. I want to leave something behind for my kids. I worked my whole life with my kids in mind. They were my why. And when I die, you want to take my money? Like, the death tax is crazy to me. And it's because of people who are counting everybody's pockets when that's not the solution to any problem. Another thing that you can do here, guys, is put your kids on payroll. You can pay your kids up to, I think, $14,000 annually. What I do is I put half of that into their Roth, into their IRAs, and the other half, we put into a brokerage. And they can buy their own individual stocks, and some of it we can pay for things they're going to do anyways, right? Like camp or sports or whatever it may be, and that'll be a tax write-off. But you don't do that unless you're making good money, right?
Them to pay a much lower tax rate. Investors can use all of these business strategies and more. One of the most popular strategies is depreciation. Tom Wheelwright refers to appreciation as magic because it's a deduction in your taxes that doesn't cost you any money. For example, let's say that Tom buys a rental property for $300,000 and he has a positive cash flow of $9,000 per year after expenses. This positive cash flow would be added to his earned income, which is around $85,000 a year. This new cash flow...
It doesn't matter if this money stays in the business account or not. He gets taxed on the individual level for that.
Would take him from the 22% tax bracket into the 24% tax bracket. But he is able to use depreciation, which gives him a tax credit on the normal wear and tear of the building. So out of the $300,000 he paid for the property, $50,000 was for the land and $250,000 was for the building. He can depreciate the value of the building over the next 27.5 years, or 3.6% yearly. This means that Tom can depreciate $9,090 per year. This tax credit deducts $9,090 from his income, essentially making his $9,000 positive cash flow absolutely tax-free, and adding an additional $90 tax credit to his ordinary income.
So this is one of the reasons why we buy real estate. It's, I'll buy real estate that breaks even cash flow. Shoot, I'll buy real estate and lose $100 a month on my P&L. Why? Because of this right here. Now, it's been phasing out, and who you vote for is going to matter here, right? Because this concept is phasing out. But it used to be 100%, right? Of certain depending on the schedule of depreciation. So there are items in this house, right? So the house is 27 and a half years, but there's items inside, that are in this house that you can write off over 10 years, 5 years, that type of thing. Any of those items, there was a thing called bonus depreciation. If you qualified for that, you can write that off year one. And so, possibly buying a $500,000 property could possibly offset a six-figure income to zero taxes. And the government allowed that because they wanted people to invest in real estate into providing housing. But that's going away. I think it's only at like 60% now depreciation you can do. So it's not as good. And then I think this year is supposed to end, but I don't know. They'll replace it with something else.
While having his property being paid off by a tenant and owning an asset that appreciates in value, all of which increases his wealth tax-free. Lesson number 4. the financial team of the rich. If you pay attention, every wealthy business owner and investor has a team that allows them to take advantage of all the
Hey, let's see how much of this team is included in Pye County.
tax laws available to them. This includes tax advisors, bookkeepers, bankers, attorneys, and investment advisors.
Okay, so bookkeepers, accountant, what was the other one?
Team that allows them to take advantage of all the tax laws available to them. This includes tax advisors,
Included,
bookkeepers, bankers, attorneys.
We have relationship with bankers, and we bring them on to Money Matters Mondays, and so we can definitely facilitate and bridge that gap between you and bankers.
And investment advisors.
Investment advisors we don't have, but we'll help you. We'll coach you through
This
it.
team allows them to take advantage of.
So 3 of those 5 are included in Pye County. And this is why I try to tell people, stop comparing Pye to H&R Block, to your bookkeeper. That's not what it is. You get a executive team on your corner for a fraction of the price of what it would cost if you would try to go get these guys a la carte. All right. And you're getting a team that knows the barbering industry, that specializes in the barbering industry. There's nothing else out there like it.
All the benefits that are legally allowed to them and protect them from the dangers of the financial world. Something that we didn't talk about in this video was the mentalities and how money is earned in each of these categories. So check out this video to get a full breakdown of the cash flow quadrant.
I like that. Okay, so yeah, I thought that was dope. Did you guys learn some stuff about taxes? I hope so. I hope so. I'm going to get off this thing, guys. I'll probably be back on later. If you're not part of the mentorship, man, lock in. The 7th is the cutoff. We're going to stop taking new enrollments on the 7th. So lock in before then. And no, Rich, Pye County doesn't work in Canada. You guys have different tax laws. Very similar, but, we don't have we're spread thin. We have 50 states we got to learn. We can't learn a whole nother country. All right, guys, have a good one.